X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to Battle of the Atom, where I, Zach Jenkins, and my co-host Adam Reck go through different X-Men stories, 3 of them in fact, every single week, and then we talk about them and put them on our list of every X-Men story ever, from best to worst. Now, Adam, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, man. I'm ready to jump in. We've got some very cool stuff to talk about this episode.
We do have some very cool stuff to talk about this episode. That is a true statement. Now, the first cool thing we have to talk about is the first cool thing we have to talk about because of one man, and that man is Max Dwick. He is a Patreon supporter, and he wanted to talk about the first appearance of the unstoppable, indestructible, inconceivable Juggernaut.
I believe the cover refers to him as the almost indescribable menace of the Juggernauts.
It's almost indescribable, but damn it if Stan Lee's not going to try.
He's going to do it. He's going to throw in those adjectives.
Right. One pitch for Max, just because I know him outside of this. He writes for Marvel TLDR, which, if you haven't heard of it, it is a web series that Marvel Entertainment puts out where they describe stories in like 2 minutes and have like funny art and jokes. It's good. I like it. Go watch the Weapon X one. It's really funny. We'll link to it in the as mentioned. I will make a note to do that.
That'd be great.
TLDR. I'll link to that. That's the TLDR for TLDR. But that's not the TLDR for that first story with the Juggernaut. Now,
did we specify which issues this is?
Yes, we are going to have to because somebody, me, didn't specify that, and then someone else, you, didn't read both issues.
I just read half of this. I apologize.
It's okay. It's perfectly fine.
The second one we're covering is really long.
It is a Silver Age book, and Stan Lee does like words.
Oh, it's great.
No, but these are issues 12 and 13 of X-Men Volume 1 from 1965, written by Stan Lee. With pencils by, or not pencils, I'm sorry. This was with layouts by Jack Kirby, finishes by Alex Tooth, inks by Vince Coletta, and I don't know who did the colors. It doesn't say. It doesn't say on anything.
It does not say, no. It doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, it says Kabitzing, which I assume is Yiddish for coloring, by the whole blamed bullpen.
Kabitzing is like just chatting, though, isn't it?
I don't know.
I feel like I
don't speak Yiddish.
That. Let's see. Not that I speak Yiddish. I feel like I use that occasionally.
Max is Jewish, so he's really going to appreciate us talking about Yiddish stuff instead of the Juggernaut, I'm sure. Max, Max, let us know what kibitzing is, or if it's actually Yiddish and we're, making stuff up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
right.
The Juggernaut. This story is kind of a twofold story. One, it's the origin of Professor X. And 2, it's the first battle with the Juggernaut. And the first team up with the Fantastic Four member, the Human Torch. Who's just in it. He is just in it. Let no one tell you that 12 cents didn't buy you a lot of comics back in the 60s.
That's right.
So, since you only read the first issue of this, Adam, what are your thoughts on number 12, the origin of Professor X?
We were just talking about this before we started recording, and I feel like this is almost like an Edgar Allan Poe story. Like there's this relentless force that's going to come and it's going to be malevolent and it's going to destroy you. So we've got to stop. But along the way, we've got a lot of juicy tidbits about the backstory of that character and our beloved Professor X. Well, I don't know how beloved he is really.
Okay, look, based on this, Professor X is a horrible leader and he should be dead. Because he's like, our defenses are falling. That's fine, children, but first, let me tell you my life story.
Yeah, let me take another 10 minutes to describe what happened during these several years as our perimeter has just been crossed over. I just find going back to Silver Age X-Men just such a weird, almost like out of body experience to see things like Cerebro is a desktop console that screams really loudly.
Yes.
To see them have to do an impromptu defense system of this is not an exaggeration, grenades in logs.
But they had to hollow out the logs. The logs weren't even hollowed out and ready. That was part of if you're going to have logs as part of your defense, have the logs in a workable form. Do not have to do woodwork as part of your defense.
Right.
Have the woodwork pre-done.
That being said, I think the backstory of Marco and all of the stuff that happens with that, it's fun. There's a real Silver Agey weirdness to the whole thing. It reads more like a traditional sci-fi comic than anything else. And Professor X gets to kind of be just about everything here. I love that he's this football star with all the trophies.
You love that? Because I said that, I looked at it, I was like, okay, Stan, you're stretching this.
I'm being quite sarcastic here. I'm saying I love it because as I read it, I'm laughing out loud, going, "Wait, what? We're not, I'm a football hero. I'm a war hero." It's almost as if Xavier is making this up as he goes along. And then we happened upon the Sidorak crystal, and it's like, wait, what?
Which everyone knows about the Crimson Gem of Sidorak. Everyone serving in Korea knows about the Crimson Gem of Sidorak, obviously.
It's just chilling, it's there for the taking.
Oh my gosh.
So it's very, very silly. So maybe you want to just detail what happens when he actually gets there?
He becomes the human Juggernaut.
Yeah.
He becomes the unstoppable Juggernaut, a force of pure unstoppable rage powered by Sidorak. Mm-hmm. Which one thing I do want to kind of point out is in this entire issue 12, the entire lead up to it, it's completely and totally hidden. Like the Juggernaut isn't cleanly seen until the very last panel.
Yeah, he's just shown in shadow.
Yeah, as cheesy and as not amazing as some of this issue is, that entire time, that overwhelming sense of dread, exactly like you were saying, they build that up real well.
Sure.
And that is Kirby's art. Mm-hmm. Well, Kirby's layouts and his ideas for it, and Stan's dialogue. He knows when to pull back in times like that, which is actually impressive because he's not known for restraint. Love him to death. Stan's not known for being the most held back dude.
No, not at all.
Right. But yeah, when Juggernaut finally breaks through all of the X-Men's puny defenses, they have a battle, which immediately starts with them with Cyclops, using his optic blasts to tunnel a hole for the Juggernaut to fall into, just to buy them more time, as the Juggernaut climbs up the hole, underground behind Cyclops, and then flips him over. And we see this from a freaking cross-section view of what's happening, and it's hilarious.
Well done, Juggernaut. Well done.
Well done indeed. Yeah, and then Professor X sends out a psychic greeting to, the Teen Brigade, led by the one, the only, the worst Rick Jones. Rick Jones sucks.
The eternal sidekick.
Oh, he's bad. Daredevil hears it and decides, man, if not for this trial, I would go be Daredevil, which doesn't feel that much like an ad, but it's an ad for Daredevil. And yeah, it keeps going until Johnny Storm shows up and doesn't really do much. He literally flies around in circles around Juggernaut for a while until Angel can pick up his helmet. And then standard Juggernaut, I'm going to use my mind to stop you, Juggernaut. But then it ends with this weird thing where all the X-Men are relaxing in the infirmary, and they said, we've never all been injured in the same place before, but who cares? With a nurse like Jean, it's a pleasure. My mother used to kiss me to expedite my recovery.
I was going to ask, having just read the first half of this, Jean is so utterly useless in issue 12.
Well,
That the treatment of this character is so awful.
see, Cyclops was the leader, Bobby was the jokester, Beast was the smart guy, Warren was the rich guy, and Jean was the girl. And that's all she was.
It's
Silver
so
Age
sad.
Jean is bad. Luckily, all of other Jean is good.
Yeah. And luckily, Dennis Hopeless's season 1 exists so that, she can actually have some depth and some substance.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's kind of why I love Teen Jean that we're getting right now in the comics. Like, I know people hate Teen Jean. You guys are wrong. Teen Jean's great. She's the best of the 05.
That series is awesome.
Yeah. I love Teen Jean, but she's not in this well. Now, we've talked about it. We do not have the current Teen Jean series. But where do you think that X-Men 12 through 13, the first Juggernaut one, would really go?
I don't know. I mean, it's a novelty, right? I mean, it's like, okay.
All of Silver Age X-Men is kind of a novelty.
Yeah, it sets up, a basic framework that these characters exist. But, am I going to revisit this? Probably not.
No.
However, there is some skill in the way that it's executed. I enjoyed reading it, so I think it has to go at the very least above New Mutant Summer Special.
I think that's true.
So I guess I don't know. Is this better than No More Humans?
I think it's better than No More Humans. I actually think it's better than Deadly Genesis, and let me tell you why. Because I've thought a lot about this.
Okay.
Silver Age X-Men is not great. Like, there's a reason that the X-Men were not big Marvel characters until Wolverines and Storms showed up. Not that the characters are bad, because Silver Age X-Men is chock full of amazing ideas. The Juggernaut is great.
Mm-hmm.
The original X-Men, like 4 out of 5 of them, are great. Magneto is great. The Sentinels are great. All of these ideas came from Silver Age X-Men. And specifically in this story, it has a lot of good ideas.
Sure.
They aren't particularly well executed.
Wow.
And the fact that this is Kirby only doing, layouts and not the full art, you don't even get that King Kirby boost.
No.
However, I do think the ideas presented in this story are better than the ideas presented in Deadly Genesis, and I would rather read this than Deadly Genesis.
All right, so we're going to put it at number 9?
I think that's a good spot for it.
All right.
I think X-Men 12 through 13, the first appearance of the almost indescribable Juggernaut, can be a good number 9 for now.
Yeah, that works great.
Now we have another story to add to the list, which is a bit more recent. This story,
a bit more substantial as well.
It is a bit more substantial. This is some story. So this is Uncanny X-Force 8 through 19, the Dark Angel Saga. I do want to point out that we are making a special exception for issue 9 of this series, which is the issue where Magneto tells Wolverine to go kill this Nazi guy that was a jerk to him back in Nazi times.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know how relevant this is going to be when this comes out. It's relevant for today. Nazis are all bad guys. If you're listening to this podcast, that's the official stance. I think, Adam, I can speak for both of us there, right?
I think we should be, basically speaking for all of America. There's really no question about that. So, sadly, the highest person of power. I don't know how political we want to get here.
I don't think we want to get incredibly political. I just want to point out that Nazis, not great. I'm okay if Wolverine kills a Nazi.
Yes, please.
But that's specifically not what we're talking about here.
Yeah, we could.
That is, of all the stories that you could talk about in Dark Angel Saga, that's not it. We're going to talk about that time that Warren Worthington got possessed by the Death Seed and turned into Apocalypse. So then the X-Force secret guys had to go into the Age of Apocalypse to find a Celestial Life Seed, and then they had to come back to find out that they were double-crossed by Dark Beast from the Age of Apocalypse, who had moved into the regular 616 continuity, and then Warren blows up an entire town and turns it into a new, better Savage Land, and then tries to terraform the entire world, and then Genesis shows up, who is the clone of Apocalypse from earlier, and beats him up, and then everyone beats him up, and then Betsy shows him a beautiful image of his entire life together with her, and then she stabs him in the heart with the life seed, death seed, one of the seeds, and he dies, and then gets reborn as a bad version of Angel.
Did you just do that from memory?
Honestly, yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I like this story a lot. It's some good stuff. Uncanny X-Force is like, well, probably the best X-Men story since front to back X-Men run, probably the best since Whedon's Astonishing. I don't think that's that controversial of an opinion.
It's very good. It's very good for a variety of reasons. I think Remender is at his best when he gets to play around with the alternate reality, crossover stuff. Another huge favorite of mine of his, which is X-Men related, is I think the trade is not called Planet X, but it's the Uncanny Avengers sequence where they're fighting Kang. What the heck is it called?
I think Planet X is right. It's the end of the good parts of his Uncanny Avengers run.
Yeah, I mean that's a very mixed bag throughout. I'm not really a fan of.
It starts real bad, it ends real bad. The whole middle part's great.
Oh yeah, but I think like that's what he excels at when he's allowed to play with like the full palette of anything he wants and just cut loose and go nuts. It works so well. This is a great story. The art is outstanding. I don't know if we mentioned the creative teams.
Yeah, the art on this is Billy Tan does the lines and pencils. Dean White and Paul Mounts do some of the colors. Mark Brooks and Scott Eaton do some pencils on some of the further issues with a lot of letters and colorers. And then on the second half of this, because this is collected in 2 trades, which doesn't make it good for just quickly recapping everything, Jerome Opeña and Asad Ribic do some art.
Yep. And Robbie Rodriguez hops on at the end, which is great.
That's some good creative teams.
Yeah,
like
Opeña is killing it. I mean,
and when they come back,
I don't want to talk anything negatively about Billy Tan's work because he's doing a great job. Everybody who works on this, it looks fantastic. But Opeña is just killing it here. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous. Every single page.
It is breathtaking. It is breathtaking. This is such a good thing. Like when he when Dark Angel goes with, it's not genocide, not Holocaust, because genocide's slightly better.
Right.
It's a less specific form of mass murder.
It's the more genteel descriptor, shall we say?
Yeah, it's not. That's a bad name. He should feel bad. But when he blows up that town, that whole sequence with Tabula Rasa, it's so good. Just everything about this comic. I think this is the highlight of his Uncanny X-Force run. I think it does so much with the character of Psylocke. Mm-hmm. It gives her such a deep emotional connection to Warren, and you can feel her pain in it. It lets you really root for Deadpool and Phantom X.
This was the first time that I actually liked a Deadpool story. I mean, and I want to say that, with the context that I have not read a lot of Deadpool stories, but
it's okay. A lot of X-Men fans feel this exact same way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything against the character. It's just, I have a lack of context there. But, I'm reading this going, wow, I really kind of like the way this is being played off, as a comedy foil. The way Phantom X is used here is fantastic. And this is, to me, the best use of that character. There are a lot of other writers that don't get Phantom X, and what happens with Phantom X after Uncanny X-Force is very weird and does not work for me.
The more Uncanny X-Force,
it's
hopeless, or not hopeless. Humphreys, your run is not going to do well on this list.
That doesn't hold up to this. But it works really well. The team dynamics work really well. The alternate reality jumping works really well. It's just, I mean, obviously it's dark, but it's also very fun. There's
it's a story that goes to Age of freaking Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like, it plays Age of Apocalypse like 90% straight while still side-eyeing and being like, okay, all you guys and your weird face tattoos may need to chill out.
Yeah, we know this is silly, but we're here and we're gonna take it seriously too.
I say that as a huge Age of Apocalypse fan. I own all of Age of Apocalypse in floppies that I went into dollar boxes and found because I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt that AOA Logan is Apocalypse when they trip
Oh,
over, right?
yeah, because that's great. It is so good because it continues all of the AOA stuff. It adds a weird foil to Logan to say, "Hey, dude, you know this secret Death Squad team of yours? Maybe not the best idea. Maybe you should rethink it. You could turn into this fascist monster, and we don't like fascist monsters ruling any sorts of countries or territories or anything."
Yeah, it's
But
dead on.
yes, and that's based solely on this book and nothing else that's really happening in the world.
Cough, cough.
So, comics aren't political, Adam. You know that.
Oh, what art is? I mean, I've never seen a piece of art that's political.
Right. So, beyond that, I think we're both excited about this book. We both like it. I think I may be a little hotter on it than you.
I really like it. I do think that the art is doing some of the heavy lifting here. I mean, I feel like if we put this in different artists' hands and it wasn't as beautifully rendered, it may lose something. I feel like
the art pushes
a great deal to it. It's a beautiful story. I do think, I know you were talking about Psylocke having a great arc here, and I don't disagree with that. I do think that there are some parts of that aspect of the story where she loses some agency and is sort of just a passive prisoner. But it's hard to really see that as a huge negative. It doesn't take away from the larger story because there's so much going on.
Well, I think to that point, she is a passive prisoner for a small section of it, but the entire time when that happens, Psylocke's the one who, finds her way out of it. Psylocke's the one who finds a resolution to all of this.
Sure.
Psylocke,
she's the hero.
Yeah,
she's the hero of the
really
story.
Is. And that's true for the whole Uncanny X-Force run, but it's especially true here.
Yeah.
So,
and I think just before we put it on the list, I just, as a last nod here, I just want to say how versatile this story is, because it does take things very seriously and ties back to an earlier arc. But especially by the time we get to the end of this arc with the Robbie Rodriguez issue, there's a range here. There's a humor to it. There's a lightness that doesn't feel, Deathlock's in this, right? This doesn't feel all that crazily different from what Jason Aaron is doing with Wolverine and the X-Men. Like it could exist within the same universe realistically, right?
Right.
Despite how dark it is.
And it really, I think by Wolverine and the X-Men issue 4 is right after the end of this, and that's where Warren and Evan Sabanur joined the school.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, they tied in close. I like this story a lot.
I do too. Where do you want to put it on the list?
I like it more than Mutant Genesis. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna throw that out there. That's as an individual, that is my perspective on the matter.
I'm going to go back to Mutant Genesis more than I'm going to go back to Dark Angel, but I think if you look at it as its own thing, it's better than Mutant Genesis. It's a much more involved, much more complicated, I would say, Jim Lee, you're amazing, but Opeña's work here is just outstanding. So,
yeah, look, I don't think it's an insult to say that, hey, Jerome Opeña may have been doing some cooler stuff in certain scenarios than super 90s Jim Lee.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. All right, so is it better than Worst X-Men ever?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But that's a really high bar.
All right, so we're going to put it in at number 4.
Well, we will. We will put the Dark Angel Saga from Uncanny X-Force at number 4 on our list.
Nice.
Which is a very respectable spot.
I agree.
Like, here's the thing with lists like this, they get top heavy real quick.
Well, that's good.
Like,
That means that there's, or at least what we've been talking about so far is.
I'd rather like things than dislike
I
things.
agree. I agree.
I enjoy liking things.
Yeah.
Our next book is Uncanny X-Men 205. This is a one-shot written by Chris Claremont with art by the one, the only, the classic X-Men fill-in artist, Barry Windsor Smith. This is called Wounded Wolf.
This is great.
What are your thoughts on this? Yeah, this is a one-shot as all get out.
I think there's a couple of artists where if you want to go back and jump in and just kind of put your toe in the water for getting some back issues, where you can pick out certain artists and say I'd like those individual, and I would highly recommend that you just grab anything that Barry Windsor Smith has done related to X-Men. Whether it be Life Death, whether it be Weapon X, or an issue like this, they're just beautiful.
And you're skipping the Dracula. You're skipping the Dracula issue.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But
Smith's good.
I think the relationship, even though this is 1986, the relationship between what we're seeing here in terms of style, and what Barry Windsor Smith obviously likes to draw, this is a real good precursor for what you'll see later in Weapon X.
Oh yeah, this is Weapon X issue 0.
This is like bodies with all kinds of junk and cybernetics hanging out of every single part of you, and the amount of detail on every single page. I'm not even really concerned about story here. Even though it's an interesting one.
Just so people know what story this is. This is the story where Katie Power, the youngest of the Power Pack, gets lost in New York, gets caught up in an attack by the Reavers, and Wolverine is there, and he has amnesia for a little bit, and she has to save him until he has to save her. And it's really good, and Barry Windsor Smith decides to do it all in a snowstorm because I assume he hates himself and wants to just draw so much.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be the next thing that I said, was the fact that it is snowing on every page, except for the little intro here with the creation of Lady Deathstrike in the body shop with Spiral. It is an astounding level of detail, of energy on every single page, every single panel. There is a really great, I think we were talking about this when we covered Wolverine 1 to 4, when Wolverine and Lady Deathstrike finally fight towards the end of the issue. The panels get really big, they get very cinematic.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of Miller's work on that. It reminds me of Paul Smith's work when Wolverine fights Silver Samurai, and it is just amazing. You can feel where the bodies are going. You can feel the energy, the pain in each body. It's great.
Yeah, it's the moment that Wolverine gets his memories back, and he tells Katie Power to, don't look. And then he just goes on a berserker rage, and it is brutal. It is just so strong. And right now, the copy I have in front of me is from the Essentials, which are black and white reprints. And I can tell you, this is such a strong book, even without the colors. And I know from reading this several times in the past, the colors are so powerful on top of this.
They are. They're very vibrant. Again, it does recall what happens later with Weapon X. There's these bright primary colors throughout that it's just gorgeous.
Yeah, this is some good comics. This is Claremont doing that thing where he knows how to stay out of his artist's way. This is Barry Windsor Smith knowing what he's good at and knowing how to pace it, because you're right, it explodes. You get, when he tells Katie to close her eyes, it gets very tight for a second, very claustrophobic as he's sneaking. And then once he has found his prey, it goes berserk. It's such a good issue.
Yeah, it's really good. And I also just want to say that I again, like we were talking, I think in our last episode about editorial at Marvel, just kind of letting artists and writers cut loose and be. And this is an interesting example of that. I feel like, if you look at what comes before this, we're kind of like in post Secret Wars 2 land. I think the next issue is a Nightcrawler solo issue. So
the one right before it is that good Nightcrawler goes to Arcade and saves the princess.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in that realm. This issue doesn't have a lot of substantial context. It's just this is what they want to do. This is the story they want to tell. It doesn't matter that it's kind of from out of left field. It just matters that it's awesome, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, this could happen anytime.
Sure.
Like, the only thing that holds it into continuity is that it's the first time that Wolverine recognizes Lady Deathstrike in her new cybernetic form.
Right. Yeah.
It's the first time he recognizes Yuriko.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
but beyond that, this is a drop it into any part of any run of any Wolverine ever, and it fits.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Man, the X-Men are good at Christmas. They make them depressing as all get out.
Yeah, but hey, everybody loves a Christmas issue, right?
Everyone loves it. And I mean, I really do like this. This is a good one to go back to. Where do you think it fits? I will say I don't think it's better than the Miller Wolverine.
I wasn't thinking that high.
I wasn't either. That's the most comparable one we got.
No, I mean, it's a weird one because it's just a single issue.
Do you think we got a couple of singles in the middle. We got Giant Size and Excalibur Mojo Mayhem, both by Claremont, both single issues. Well, Giant Size isn't by Claremont. Let me take that back. It's just so attached to his run.
Yeah.
I think it's better than Giant Size.
Okay. Better than Dupe, Wolverine and the X-Men number 17?
I think it's better than Dupe, worse than Mutant Genesis. Because Dupe and this are similar. They're in kind of different tones completely. One of them is a silly story. One of them is a murder story.
Right.
But I think that this one stays with me. Like I didn't remember that it was called Wounded Wolf, and that's all that was submitted. And it took me a second. Like Wounded Wolf. Oh, that good Barry Windsor Smith one.
Yeah, I had the same thing because you said, okay, well, somebody recommended Wounded Wolf, and I was like, what is that? And then I was like, oh, okay, I know what this is. This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good place for. I think Mutant Genesis has enough style to overcome this one.
Oh yeah.
But I think this may be better than Wolverine and the X-Men 17.
All right, so it's going to go in at number 6.
Yep. Number 6 is Uncanny X-Men 205 Wounded Wolf.
Nice.
And that does it for this episode. If you liked the stuff that we were doing, you can go to patreon.com/XavierFiles. And for as little as $2 a month, you can donate to the site, to the podcast, to all the stuff that happens under the Xavier Files banner. And you, as a reward, will get a story of your choice, good, bad, or indifferent, shot up to the top of the list. So you can enjoy that. Or if you just want to make a request, there's a request form on the website. So you can go there and request anything to your heart's content. Please don't request bad things.
Please.
You know who I'm talking to, guy who's not on this chunk of episodes, but will be in the future, and I don't want to freaking read you stupid Mangaverse stuff.
Oy.
Oh, the Mangaverse. We're going to get there. We'll get through it. But beyond that, if you liked this episode, please rate and review on iTunes or the podcast thing of your choice. That really helps us get the rankings up, helps kind of get more credibility to this. If you like the stuff that I'm doing, you can go to XavierFiles.com, where there are weekly discussions about different X-Men characters, different fun X-Men things that are going on all the time. You can also follow me and my wacky conversations on Twitter.com @XavierFiles. And Adam Rec, where can people find you?
If people want to read Bish and Jubes, the webcomic that I put out very periodically, you can go to adamrec.tumblr.com, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Arthur Stacy.
All right. I think we had 3 good ones, 3 bad ones. This has been the Battle of the Atom. I hope you survived the experience. See you next week.
Get it!